TV presents the first of a brand new series of Star Treks, featuring the life and times of Northern Ireland's greatest female pop star, Ruby Murray.
They had an exam every Friday, and the teachers used to look at me and say, "You better go and make the coffee or the tea for the teachers. Forget the exam."
Maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm weak, and maybe I'm strong. But
they came into the office and they were hugging me and kissing me and saying, "You're in the church, you're in the church." And I couldn't hardly understand what was happening to me, you know.
maybe I'll win, and maybe I'll lose. Maybe I'm in for crying the blues.
She could make 2 records a day in those days. Do the TV series, quite contrary, and then go on to the Palladium. That was a day's work, every 6 days a week.
Terrible chances I'm taking.
I think at the time she went over there, she was a breath of fresh air, unaffected, totally unaffected, natural. Everybody just loved her.
Maybe I live a life of regret.
Well, the general public as a whole have never seen her from a drink point of view. That's been kept away from the public completely.
She likes the happy things in life. She likes the roses and the sunny days, and isn't too mad about stormy weather.
Chances I'm taking. Fine at the start, then left with a heart that is breaking. A heart that's
And they said, "Now you're going to this, it's a rest home. Think of it as nothing else. It's for you to rest, have no stress, no one that stresses you near you. This is what you're here for, to get totally better. That's what we want you to do, you know. So that's why I'm here."
Over the last 18 months, the health problems are really liver damage from sustained use of alcohol, and everything else is a spin-off of that. She has back problems with osteoporosis. There's a collapse of vertebrae in her back, which causes her a lot of pain, so there's medication to cope with all of that.
Well, apart from all my other problems, I have a Cadillac in my eye. I mean a cataract, of course. And I do have a problem with words. I'm inclined to say the wrong word for the wrong thing. I love joss sticks, but I ran out of them, and I said to my son, "Oh, don't forget when you're coming in to see me, I need some more jock straps." Well, home was Pembroke Street, and that's off the Donegal Road. My father was tall, 6'3", it looked like a detective, straight back and a trilby. And they used to know him in town as Big Dan. He absolutely adored me because I was the youngest, and also I could sing.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
So it was him more than my mother that always pushed me. You know, she really wanted me just to be happy or do what I wanted to do, which of course was show business. I went to the children's primary on Broadway. I hated school from the minute I had to go. My mother had to drag me up the hill to the children's school. And then I went to Fane Street. But I never learned anything at all at school. I mean, I was so bad, really, that they had an exam every Friday, or every Friday 2 weeks apart, you know, to see how you were doing, I suppose. And the teachers used to look at me and say, "You better go and make the coffee or the tea for the teachers. Forget the exam." Mummy got me a job in a bakery and they put me on jam tarts, and it was a big iron machine, and once they switched it on, you couldn't switch it off. Well, it worked terrific for about 7 minutes, and then the machine was going and I got all confused, and the jam tarts were coming out all squeezed by, 6 at a time, and I broke the machine and everything. So he said, no, you're not going to manage it that.
Trotting to the fair, me and Mom Maloney, seated, I declare, on a single pony.
Well, I was doing St Mary's Hall, the King's Hall, the Ulster Hall, and then the little outskirts, Lisburn, Portadown, and all the little towns. My best friend in all the world, Mary Cunningham, she worked in it's called the Gramophone Shop, is it? Opposite the City Hall.
It was owned by the Solomons, Mervyn and Philip Solomon. And Philip was very keen on show business. He had just come back from abroad, and he was putting a company together to go on tour in the south of Ireland. And he asked me if I knew a girl singer that might suit. And of course I said Ruby immediately.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty.
So I went on tour with them, and that was my first time away from home, you see. So, and it was great fun. You know how it is when you get away, you think, oh, it's great.
Through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles.
I was only here 3 weeks, and I was at the Met, Edgware Road, with the company. I wasn't anybody special. And Dickie Afton, who was a producer, and he was Irish, came backstage, and he said, would you try out a TV show I'm doing? And after the show, the phone rang, and it was Ray Martin from EMI Records. He said, would you come into Abbey Road Studios and do a test to see if your voice is good for recording? And I said, oh yes. So I said yes to everything. So I got my contract for records almost immediately.
Get well soon.
My first one I made was a song called Get Well Soon, but nobody bought that except my mother. She bought 500 copies just to please me.
Hear it, hear it, hear my heartbeat.
The second one I made was Heartbeat, which was the first one to get into the top 10, And they came into the office and they were hugging me and kissing me and saying, you're in the chart, you're in the chart. And, and I said, what, and I said, oh, that's great. But I couldn't hardly understand what was happening to me,
Oh, let me go, let me go, let me go, lover.
And then after that, it was the string of 5 all went in, they all went in one after the other, till I had 5. All at once was quite it's a record, And the way the business is today, it can't be broken because it's a different system,
Softly, softly, come to me.
Softly, I love, and I'm grateful because it was the one that people remember to this day, so I'm sentimental about that one.
If anyone finds this, I love you, I love you, I love you. With the parting of the ways, you took all my happy days and left me lonely nights.
If anyone finds this, I love you. and Happy Days and Lonely Nights. Is that 5? When then in 60 I had a hit with Real Love.
You don't have to buy me diamonds. You don't have to buy me clothes. All I want from you is real love.
But you see, they don't do it today like she did. It was wonderful, really. She could make 2 records a day in those days. She could do 2 finish completely in a day. Do the TV series, quite contrary, and then go on to the Palladium.
The greatest thrill of my life was when my mother lived with me in London, and we had a flat at Regent's Park, and we'd be walking down Oxford Street and she would see a suit and she'd say, or a coat or something, and she'd say, wasn't that lovely? And I'd be able to say, come on in and have it. And that was a great thrill for me.
I would say Ruby was the least affected by the money and all that went with it. She's the same to this day. Really, never was a big spender or flash.
She was very good-hearted and she didn't want anything herself at all, really, you know. She bought her parents a house and her brother a shop and her brother a car and all things like that.
We were on tour in England. Ruby was the star, a very big star at the time. Like, her supporting acts would have been Morecambe and Wise, and she had these gorgeous dresses, and each one in a big box like a coffin. And we had to hump these about at the end of the week every time we were moving. And I said to her, you know, this is ridiculous, you're the star, and look at us humping these. Why don't you buy a car?
So she said, come on and have a look, there's a showroom down the road. And we went in, you see, and I said to the manager, excuse me, that's a lovely car. Could we sit in it just to, like, have a smell at the leather?
And she said, I'll have that one. You know, I'll take that. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, madam, there's a 6-month waiting list for that. And I don't know whether it was the manager of the showroom or an older man recognised her. And he came over and she said, I was wanting to buy the car, but we're only here, unfortunately, till Saturday. Oh, he said, leave that with me. And it was at the stage door on Saturday morning.
So Mary and I ran out, all excited, in our dressing gowns, you know, jumped into the car, and I said, oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? And she said, wait a minute, we couldn't drive, neither of us could drive. She said, what are we going to do with it now? I said, I don't know. I said, but it's lovely. So I had to ring to a manager in London and ask him to come and drive it away for us.
Why this feeling? Why this glow? Why this thrill when you say hello?
I became so close with her that I asked her to marry me. And we talked it over, and she said yes. She said, but we're doing this season at Blackpool, so we'll decide upon it when we've done the summer season. And within 6 weeks, she met her husband, who was appearing in the same show. And within 6 weeks, she married him.
Mr. Wonderful.
Of course, my father was horrified, you know, and he said, you're doing the wrong thing. I only knew him about 8 weeks. And he said, you don't know him. You don't know what he's about. You're doing the wrong thing. But you know, when you get it in your head, somebody said, you don't do it, you do it more.
Real love, oh, let it be real love.
It was a luxurious lifestyle. We had a very beautiful house in Northamptonshire, and the beautiful garden and the whole trip, which was very nice. Because there was a lot of adulation and a lot of attention. But on the downside, it was not what everybody else had. So that made it different, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that can be difficult too.
I have 2 children now, a boy and a girl, and my little girl goes to school now, you know. Then the boys, he's a year old.
I took them when I could in the holidays and things, but by that time it was when they went to school, both of them, that it became very difficult because there was no way I could take them.
He left the Jones boys and really took on the role of management with her. Pretty much at home as well, you know, he was managing the career and managing the home, and so I think that was the deal that they had between them. And he sort of managed things and looked after things, and she went out and did the singing.
Every time I got into the car and drove away, or somebody was driving me, I felt a pang, you know, and I thought, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. But then Bernie wasn't working at the time. Somebody had to bring in money for everything, you know, for their schooling and the house and everything. I was earning money, but right from the outset, I learned later, I wasn't earning what I should have been at that time.
No, she didn't. No, not even in those days. But compared with today, it was ridiculous. I mean, a recording contract, for instance, was, I think it was a halfpenny record or something. Well, I mean, today, she would have been a multi-millionaires for the amount of hits that she had. And then she had a crooked solicitor and a crooked accountant.
I can remember problems starting when we were quite young. If the drinking was in, Mother would be drinking at that point. And it was quite difficult to cope with, I think, because she had her reasons for responding to the pressure in the way that she did, and he had his reasons for responding to his pressure the way that he did.
First of all, when you wake, you see, I'm a problem, or I was a problem drinker. Any problem that turns up, you know, I used to go, oh, I must have a drink and solve that, you know. But I didn't, because I woke up with a hangover and the problem was still there.
I think they just reached the point where it was too much. It was too much pressure. Something definitely had to give. And I think I was about nine or so when they separated.
You see, I then went through a guilt thing that I thought they'll never understand it and they're going to hate me for leaving them. And which they didn't like me very much at one period. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they'll grow out of it and, you know, understand when they're older that I couldn't stay. Which they did, fortunately. And I mean, you've seen Tim, and he loves me very much, I think. And Julie's the same. She's up in London at the moment. But she's the same, they both understand, because they're adults now.
I'll come when you call, when you give me the word, with the speed of a bird, I will fly to your side.
And I was at the festival theatre here, and you remember I was saying the fella came and drove my car away. His name's Ray Lamar. Well, he came round to see me. I hadn't seen him for 20 years.
I was down here looking after the theatres, so we met up again. And we went out a couple of times, and there you go. It's all started from there.
Hand in hand, we
I needed the company, and first of all, I'd known him. I knew him inside out, you know. So I've been with him almost 20 years now.
I would like to hope that it was a good idea. She knew Ray all her life, but I don't know. She's been better marrying me. Less problems.
I think her career gradually faded out, but as her work rate gradually went down, the career moved from doing bigger shows and TV appearances down to smaller clubs, and it gently petered out.
Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
But there was a period when I began to see empty bottles here and there. And that's when we started to face it and say, look, we've got to stop this out.
Oh, I was very ashamed. The next day, usually, you think, what have I done? Did I do anything terribly wrong? Or, you know, because you can't remember.
Keep away from bootleg hooch when you're on a spree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
And I did this thing that everybody does. I'll never do that again, you know. But I did.
I was no help because I used to drink myself. It wasn't like I was a teetotaler to say, no, you mustn't do that. I used to like a drink as well.
Until this happened to me and scared me. Really, fear scared me out of it. I thought, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay or do you want to leave?
You'll get a pain and ruin your tum-tum.
So then I stopped altogether. Well, I had to, because I knew I'd be dead. And I haven't had a drink for over a year now, I think.
Do you think you have stopped?
Oh, I finished. Oh, I wouldn't go through that again.
It's been a long time now. How long have you been down there?
20 years.
It's been more, isn't it?
Maybe a couple of years more.
Well, when did you come down?
I can't remember the exact year, too.
And you're not?
Can't remember yesterday.
Considering that probably what happened 18 months ago was not a voluntary thing. She was probably backed into a corner where, you know, she had to think about the way that she was living, and she had to think about making some serious changes in her life and coming to terms with a few things. She's done particularly well, and I'm very proud of her for that, because it's something that certainly wasn't easy, and she's managed to face quite a few of her own monsters, and she'll get there, I think.
When Irish are smiling,
I hope, obviously, to get my health back. That's the main thing. And then I can face anything and make up my mind. If I'll sing again, I don't know.
you can hear the angels sing. And when Irish hearts are happy,
I love her very much, more so now than I think I ever have done, because of the experience over the last 18 months especially. Then it's been very close, and we've had lots of time together, lots of time to get intimate, and I know her better now than I ever have done. And I think, like most people that know her very well, you can't help but love her.
It's been great. I've had the most wonderful, wonderful life. And you know, the bad times, the good times, tapestry, like life should be, you know. So I can't cry over anything. You know, even the bad times, they have to be, because if they weren't there, you wouldn't know when you were having a good time. That sounds very Irish, doesn't it?
and when Irish eyes are smiling, Sure they steal your heart
Ruby Murray died at Christmas, aged 61. Tonight's Star Trek tribute was broadcast with the approval of her family.